Shadows over Innistrad Remastered is now only 2 weeks away. Releasing March 21st, we've just got a bunch of new spoilers and previews from this week's weekly MTG livestream. I'm going to go through what we know already, the new spoilers that just got dropped, and then also have a look at the OG Innistrad sheet that's included in the draft format, and that will be legal in Historic with cards like Snapcaster Mage. And if it's your first time here, please do subscribe to the channel, I really appreciate it. Starting things off with a quick recap, I won't dwell on these too long, but we already know Sigarda's Aid, obviously huge boost for Hammer from Pioneer to Explorer. Thing in the Ice, excellent in Phoenix, other blue-black, blue-red, mono-blue mid-range decks, still missing the Delve spells, but hey, soon maybe. Then we have Relentless Stead, was the last card originally previewed. Cool for zombies, nice, alright. The other thing is that from the Shadows of Innistrad Remastered bundle, we know because this is coming with a Brazella sleeve and Gazelle the Broken Blade and Bruna the Fading Light card styles, that we'll be getting those cards in the set as well. From a newsletter was sent out early this week, we know Nahiri's Wrath depend upon the Sinful and Seasons Pass. Nahiri's Wrath, a neat enabler for something like Dredge. Digital cost to cast, discard X cards, deals damage equals the total mana value to X total creatures or players. Send upon the Sinful's a kind of neat Wrath, exiles creatures, and then if you've got Delirium you make a 4/4 Angel. Pretty cool. And Seasons Pass is a card we've seen been an engine in decks in the past. 6 mana sorcery, return any number of cards with different mana values from your graveyard to your hand, and it goes back on the bottom. And use that with like a Diabolic Tutor effect to then pull it back to your hand and reuse it again and again and again. It's not really made a huge impact in Pioneer, but maybe it's something we see as a sweet sideboard card for Explorer. So, from the weekly MTG livestream, we got a pile more spoilers, as well as a first look at this old Innistrad sheet. So, let's go through those. Starting things off with White, these are in Wooburg order. Aldrich, Luna Marshall, Thalia, Heretic, Cathar. Thalia, a card that's seen quite a lot of play in Pioneer out of things like humans, creatures and non-basic lands your opponents control into the battlefield tapped. Super nice ability. Aldrich, maybe more for Brawl. Beginning of each combat, creatures you control gain first strike. If a creature you control is first strike, they get, first strike, flying, death touch, double strike, etc, etc, etc. Just duplicate those abilities among creatures you control. Pretty neat. Next up, a Mausoleum Wanderer, which obviously we already have on Arena, so it does raise the question a little bit about duplicate protection. It's kind of cool that if you want to play spirits, you'll just be able to like open Shadows boosters, which is cool, because we'll presumably have Spell Queller, though it's not been previewed yet, I will say. Obviously, yeah, 1 mana, 1/1 flying, another spirit into the battlefield gets +1/+1 on the turn, and then sacrifice it to counter instant sorcery spells, unless its controller pays X, where X is Mausoleum Wanderer's power. A couple of fun ones, again, like Brawl, Commander, maybe some deep build-arounds, Trio Edition and Triskaidekaphobia. Trio Edition, 4 mana for an O13, which you can tap to change players' life totals around. And then Triskaidekaphobia will win the game if your opponent's at 13. Okay, some more interesting stuff in red. So, Hammer Garrison's an interesting one. The actual most interesting card on this page for me, obviously, you have the Hammer Garrison and the Harrier Battlements, and if you flip them, you get the Hammer right into Tomb. Hammer Garrison's not really Pioneer playable, so I don't expect it to see an impact in Explorer, but Hammer Battlements, the ability to give creatures haste is something that could crop up. I think Dom Harvey was the first person to try it out in Amulet in Modern, but having that kind of ability on a land is super powerful, and it's a nice thing to have access to. Ooh, into green cards. Some of my favourite cards here. Tireless Tracker is actually my favourite card ever. But obviously, again, already exists on Arena, and so I'm going to look forward to opening my 6th, 7th, 8th copies. Landfall, Investigate, make a clue, and then sacrifice clues gets counters. Card's really sweet, great with like Fable Passage. I actually have a deck tech with Tireless Tracker coming out the same day I'm posting this, I believe, so maybe check that out if you're interested. Eldritch Evolution is a really nice one, a super important card as the format moves forward. The place it sees the most play right now is in Abzan Greasefang. You can sacrifice your Stitcher Supplier or one of your other creatures to then go and tutor for Greasefang itself. So yeah, 1 green, there's no cast to cast it, sacrifice a creature, then search your library for a creature card with mana value X or less, where X is 2 plus the sacrifice creature's mana value. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle, and then it gets exiled. No Dark Dweller shenanigans. Card is really sweet, very versatile, allows for some sweet stuff. Cryptid's Right's a very cool card as well. 1 green enchantment, just because creatures you control tap out of mana of any colour. Really nice. Good in something like Sacrifice, that kind of thing, where you have a bunch of creatures with abilities, but ideally you'd like them to tap the mana as well to power out a company, that kind of thing. And so, yeah, pretty nice addition. Into multicolored stuff, and here we see our first change. Anguish Unmaking has been downgraded from a rare to an uncommon. Exile target non-land permanent, you may, and then you lose 3 life. I think actually it might have been downgraded to an uncommon some other set, like in paper, but hey, it's the first thing we're seeing here. So some rarity changes are interesting. I'm curious, like, they could have maybe made Mausoleum Wanderer like an uncommon to kind of get around some of that, like, oh, well, I'm going to open my, like, 5th copy of this rare card. But that raises some other problems, I guess. Fever Visions is a really, really sweet one. 1 blue, red. Beginning of each player's end step, they draw a card, and if they have 4 or more cards, it deals 2 damage to them. It's a great alternate win connection out of the sideboard for blue-red decks. And then Olivia mobilized for War, 1 black-red for a 3/3 flyer. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield you control, you may discard a card, and then if you do, it gets a counter on. It gets counter and haste. Hasn't made a big impact in Pioneer, but, you know, is a sweet one for Brawl, and then also does some pretty cool stuff for, like, Madness, if we get some more Madness support. So, hey, there's Olivia. Next, I've got Archangel Avacyn, kind of what they're using as, like, kind of the flagship card of the set. Obviously, it is really powerful. Hasn't seen tons of Pioneer play. I've played it a little bit in Blue-White Flash, and it's puts up some results like that. Obviously, has a ton of text. 5 mana for a flash 4/4 Angel, Flying and Vigilance, and enter the battlefield creature you control get indestructible, and then whenever a non-angel creature you control dies, transform Archangel Avacyn at the beginning of your next end step. Sorry, at the beginning of your next upkeep, and then when it flips, it deals 3 damage to each other creature and each opponent. And then it's a 6/5 flyer in the air. Absolute staple of standard format it was in. Played a lot of blue-white flash mirrors, or blue-white into black-green. But yeah, cards are very powerful. We'll almost certainly see some Explorer play. And then, so, this is our first look now at the original Innistrad sheet that they're putting in. So, from what I understand, there will be a rotating sheet of cards that goes through in draft, and I don't know if it's clear if you can open these in normal boosters, or if you'll have to craft them if you want them for Historic. But these cards will be legal in Historic, and not in Explorer. So the first 3 we have here, Doom Traveler, Faithless Looting, and Avacyn's Pilgrim. Doom Traveler, another just kind of dies make a creature effect, is pretty cool for something like Aristocrats. Avacyn's Pilgrim is a human that makes mana, which is super, super important, especially because the next card that I'm going to show, and then Faithless Looting is probably the most powerful card here. Curious to see how long it sticks around in Historic 4 if it comes in pre-banned, because it is banned in Modern. But just draw 2, discard 2, and then flashback, super powerful. Maybe see some more like Hollow One shenanigans. But the reason I was talking about Avacyn's Pilgrim being good with the next card is that, oh wait, actually, it's a bit later on. So Lingering Souls, super powerful card, Ruiner of limited and also block restricted formats. Just make a pile of spirits. And then we have Mayor of Averbrook. Now, this is what I was talking about humans with Avacyn's Pilgrim. So you get a human that you can play for 1 and then accelerates you to your later humans. We already have a bunch of really, really good human cards on Arena, obviously in Pioneer Explorer. But for Historic in particular, this allows you with Mayor, which is a lord for your humans, and also flips into wolves and then makes a bunch of wolves, is really, really powerful. Just another lord, but with some added bonus as well. So yeah, humans in Historic are probably going to look really, really strong. Then we've got Falconwrath Aristocrat and Havengal Lich. Falconwrath Aristocrat was obviously the core of a very, very broken standard deck. I guess on the face of it, like, it didn't get banned or anything, but very, very powerful standard deck back in Returns from Ravnica Innistrad. And Havengal Lich is a bit more of a niche one. Those who know, but Heartless Summoning, which makes 2 cards cheaper to cast, creatures 2 down and cheaper to cast, and then gives them -1/-1, used to be a deck with Havengal Lich and Heartless Summoning, where you would just cycle through Perilous Amir, and just blast your opponent for a bunch of damage. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Gristlebrand. Now is more competition, obviously, with the tracks in the format, but is a really nice one to tutor up and put into play. Get attacking with, obviously, I don't know, there's not a ton to say here. 8 mana, 7/7, flag, lifelink, pay 7, draw 7. Excellent. And then lastly, of course, I did put it on the thumbnail, I was not clickbaiting. Snapcaster Mage is getting printed into Historic, which is super, super exciting. May get me to play the format, though unfortunately those alchemy cards are still floating around. Anyway. But yeah, Snapcaster Mage, they have gone for the Tiago Shannon, which is really, really sweet. Love that. And then, yeah, when it enters the battlefield, target instant sorcery card in your graveyard gets flashback at a turn. Flashback equals its mana cost. Snapcaster Mage is just like one of the best cards in Magic, really. And by far the most fun to play with, even if it's been outshined a little in like Modern recently. And that is the list. There's still obviously a bunch of really important things that we haven't got spoiled yet. I mentioned Spellqueller earlier, but also like Emrakul the Promised End. For me personally, Prized Amalgam, and a bunch of other bits. If you enjoyed the video, please do drop a like and subscribe, and yeah, thanks for watching.